The Kalanish stones is one of the most recognisable but little understood prehistoric complexes in Neolithic Britain, and this documentary by Before Caledonia will take a look at Kalanish in detail and hopefully reveal some of the mysteries of the megaliths and surrounding landscape. We'll look at the main circle, the ceremonial avenue, the chambered cairn, the south, west and east rows and more. We'll also look at some similarities Kalanish has with other Neolithic sites around the UK. This film also looks at the minor or satellite stone circles around the main Kalanish site, like Kalanish II, III, IV, VIII and Achmore Stone circle, which is Kalanish XXII. At the end of this documentary, I'll put video links to other important Neolithic areas in Scotland, like Orkney's Ness of Brodgar complex, the recumbent stone circles of Aberdeenshire and Kilmartin Glen. The Western Isles in Scotland is home to one of the most impressive Neolithic complexes in Great Britain. The Callanish stones are situated on the remote Outer Hebrides on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. Kalanish is the top tourist attraction on the Isle of Lewis and one of the most complete stone circles in Scotland. The Kalanish stones are also known as the Stonehenge of the North and is an incredible survivor from the Neolithic age. The Kalanish complex is one of the most impressive ancient ceremonial landscapes in Britain, which is on a par with Orkney's Ness of Brodgar or Stonehenge in Avebury in England. At Kalanish we can walk in the footsteps of our ancient ancestors and touch the beautiful megaliths they constructed 5 millennia ago. If you enjoy this film and would like to help the channel, please hit the like button, share the video, watch it to the end, subscribe and leave a comment for a personal reply. One of these simple actions helps the channel grow. Before Caledonia is also a Facebook group. Let me know in the comments below your favourite prehistoric site in the UK. Is it Stonehenge, Kalanish, Avebury or one of the sites in Orkney? A new visitor centre is planned for 2026. Nokin Tursa. Before you approach the Kalanish stones from the southern entrance is a rock outcrop known as Nokin Tursa. This arrangement of boulders was perhaps the original temple before the megaliths were erected and seems to be a special location to the ancient people and may have been a key component in why the Kalanish stones are located where they are. This footage is from the top of Nokin Tursa and looking north towards the main Kalanish site. 2 small kerbed cairns were built on top of this rock outcrop. From up here is a good location to view the Kalanish environs and look out for Kalanish II and III stone circles in the distance. Nokin Tursa translates from Gaelic as Hillock of Sadness. Notice the strange human-like face on the middle stone. Below this rock is a cave-like feature where you can take a seat and look out northwards over the Kalanish stones. Perhaps an important person sat here during ceremony. This arrangement of rocks to me resembles a turtle. You can see a head to the right and flippers. I'm sure the ancient people noticed these features. Excavation found post holes and pits in the front of Nokin Tursa. The first recorded mention of Kalanish was in 1680, saying the stones were a sort of men converted into stones by an enchanter. All the stone is Westen Isles, which is the oldest rock in the UK. The prehistoric people picked stone with crystalline nodules, and the quarry site may have been 1 mile from Kalanish. Projecting out from the main circle is 5 rows, which is very unusual. In the UK, only Avebury stone circle in England can we find something similar. It's well known that the main Kalanish site is roughly set out like the shape of a Celtic cross. However, this was built 3,000 years before Christianity. Perhaps the circle and rows make up a human body, with the south row being the head, the east and west rows the arms, the circle the body, the huge central standing stone being the heart, and the two rows which make up the avenue could be the legs. Some of the Neolithic sites in Orkney are also laid out like the human body. The south row. The 5 stones of the south row point towards the Nokin Tursa and seem to run in a line from the huge central stone inside the main circle. At either side of this stone row is 2 standalone stones, stone number 35 and stone number 9. Stone number 9 sits just next to the south row and possibly has a connection with stone 34 in the opposite direction to the northeast. Looking closely, the shape of 2 of the south row stones shows an outline which appears at other Neolithic sites such as Bulgorka recumbent stone circle in Aberdeenshire and Machrie Moor on the Isle of Arran. The shape of these 2 stones to me resembles a hunched over older woman, which also face each other and have a significant gap between them. These standing stones are possibly the hag or crone, which may symbolise the wise old woman. From this row you can make out Kalanish II stone circle in the distance, perhaps intentionally intervisible for the ancient people to walk between the stone circles. Stone number 35 sits just a few metres away. The Victorians set this small stone in concrete. A bit of folklore regarding this stone is it was broken by someone who was waiting for a boat while drunk. Notice the break on the bottom half of the stone. The east row. A second row of 5 stones projects from the east arc of the main circle. These standing stones were erected after the main circle in the Copper Age. The last stone at the end of the row is numbered 33A. This was lost for a century, then re-erected in its original position in 1982 after it was discovered in 1977. Notice the light colouring of the stone. This is due to peat while the stone was laying recumbent in the ground. Stone 33A seems to have the profile of a human and looks out over towards Sleeping Beauty, which we'll find out more about later. This footage was taken a day before autumn equinox in 2024. Unfortunately, due to the mist totally obscuring the view, it's not known where exactly the sun appeared in the landscape. This sped up footage shows a moonrise from the east wing. The chambered cairn. Inside the circle on the east arc between the huge central monolith and the main ring is the chambered cairn, which was discovered during peat clearance. The cairn was a later addition, 4 centuries after the megaliths were erected. The cairn has a short passage in 2 compartments. Human bones were excavated and Victorian glass was found at the sides of the chamber between the stones. Perhaps the cairn may have been some kind of ritual womb tomb. Around 3,000 years ago, the chamber's contents were scattered and the capstone ripped off. Only the cairn was part rebuilt using the original capstone to make a northern kerb. After this, peat began to grow over the chamber. The circle. The main Kalanish circle alone is one of the most impressive stone circles in the UK. Unlike the iconic Stonehenge, there's no lintels here. The beautiful Westen Isles standing stones are between 2.5 metres and 3.5 metres high and tower over the visitor. The astonishing preservation of Kalanish was due to a 2-metre build-up of peat over 3 millennia. When the peat was stripped away, this revealed the stones were bleached. The remoteness and sparse population would have been another factor in the site's preservation. The Outer Hebrides seems an unusual location to build a major Neolithic temple. Did the prehistoric people look for suitable locations for key astronomical events? It's highly likely Kalanish had a multifunctional purpose. Kalanish is 46 metres east-west and 122 metres north-south. 49 standing stones make up the main site, and significant excavations took place in 1980 and 1981. The circle is 12.5 metres in diameter and has 13 stones, which may represent the 13 full moons in a solar year. The ring along with the avenue both have possible lunar associated numbers. Kalanish along with Kalanish III and X are what Professor Alexander Thom called a type A flattened circle. Professor Thom was a Scottish archaeoastronomer and founder of the Megalithic Yard. He measured stone circles in the UK and beyond. You can find a documentary about his work on YouTube called Cracking the Stone Age Code. Looking closely at stone number 51 from inside the circle reveals a male phallic shape, which suggests the ancient people participated in fertility rituals, or perhaps this was an acknowledgement to the creation of human life. Stone number 46 continues this male symbolism when viewed from a certain angle. Male-shaped stones are also found at some of the Aberdeenshire recumbent stone circles. Peat started to form 3,500 years ago after the climate deteriorated. By the 1800s, most of Lewis was blanketed in 2 metres of peat. From Kalanish is a 360-degree landscape view. This is a common theme at stone circles. Kalanish was no doubt carefully placed in a landscape very important to the ancient people. The Neolithic was warmer, drier and had lower sea levels. Trees of silver birch and hazel grew in the Neolithic. Around 3,500 years ago, all the trees were cleared away. Stone number 45 is interesting. On the outside, near the top, is what looks like a black woman's face. On the inner side of this same stone is another human figure with a head, body, arms and legs. Inside the ring is a large 5 metre high central megalith. This is the site's tallest stone. Could this represent the heart, with the circle representing the human body and the rows being the head, arms and legs? Looking at the circle stones reveals some interesting human-like outlines. These human-like profile stones were no doubt intentional by the ancient architects and could be symbolic of the ancestors. Perhaps each individual stone in the ring has a meaning or collectively tells a story. The two megaliths either side of stone number 45 seem to face each other and to me look like female guardians reminiscent of the Nokin standing stone on the Isle of Arran. On the outside of this stone there seems to be a female face. This is a close-up image. The main circle at Callanish has 13 stones, which is interesting as the moon orbits the earth 13 times each year and moves 13 degrees each day. The moon is commonly regarded as female, while the sun is thought to be male. The West Row. Unlike the 5 stones at the south and east rows, the West Row has only 4 standing stones. The first 3 stones form a line, with the end stone set differently. These stones are reminiscent of an Aberdeenshire recumbent stone circle setting. The right hand stone to me is male phallic shaped. The middle megalith resembles an Aberdeenshire recumbent stone, with the left upright could be female with its diamond shape, which resembles stones at Avebury Circle in Wiltshire. This footage taken the night before the autumn equinox in 2024 shows the sun setting into the landscape while standing at the right hand stone nearest the circle. Perhaps this row was set up as a rough guide for the sun setting at the equinox. This footage shows the sunrise from the West Row on the morning of the autumn equinox 2024. The mist at the equinox gave the Kalanish stones an ethereal, otherworldly-like atmosphere. The few observers who gathered at the stones for this key solar event had singing bowls, done some gentle drumming, Gaelic singing and meditation. The equinoxes when night and day are of equal balance. This happens twice a year at the spring equinox on the 20th or 21st of March, which is the start of the astrological year and the light half of the year. Then 6 months later at the autumn or fall equinox, again we have equal balance of day and night on September the 22nd or the 23rd, which is the dark half of the year. This footage shows real-time film at the equinox sunrise at Callanish in September 2024. There are also 2 solstices, the summer solstice, which usually takes place on June the 21st. This is the day of most daylight. 6 months later, on December the 21st or sometimes the 22nd, the winter solstice occurs. This is the day in the year with the least amount of daylight. These equinoxes and solstices were very important to our ancient ancestors. The solstices and equinoxes are reversed depending on the north or south hemisphere. 2 classic Greek writers wrote about the northern region of Hyperborea. The Hyperboreans' temple was winged. In 55 BC, Diodorus wrote, "There is on an island a notable temple which is spherical in shape. The moon, as viewed from this island, appears but a little distance from the earth. The gods visited the island every 19 years. From the Butt of Lewis on the north of the Isle of Lewis all the way down south to Berneray, looking out over the North Atlantic Ocean, the Western Isles looks to me like the profile of a human face with the Callanish stones at the third eye position. To me, Callanish looks like a megalithic antenna which is high in quartz content." The Avenue. Radiating north from the circle is 2 stone rows, which is very unusual. This is commonly thought to be a processional way, which is reminiscent of the avenue at Avebury Stone Circle. The processional way has 19 stones, 10 one side and 9 on the other. The number 19 has a possible lunar connection, which may represent the 19-year Metonic lunar cycle. A few other examples of stone circles in the UK which have a number 19 association are Torhouse in Dumfries and Galloway and the Merry Maidens in Cornwall. When walking the avenue, notice the strange shape of stones, the peculiar spacing also the cuts and angles of the stones. Stone number 4 seems to have a face. This is called simulacra and is likely intentional. Simulacra is also seen at other stone circles throughout the UK, like Avebury and Stonehenge. You can make out a face, nose and chin. Notice how the head is tilted to an angle. At the start of the avenue are two megaliths. Stone number 19 on the left looks like a tall guardian stone. This is set with its broad face looking up the avenue, which is converse to all the other avenue stones. Perhaps this is marking the start of the ceremonial way. From these two end stones is quite a gap until the next stones in the avenue. To me this looks like a possible humanoid guardian, reminiscent of similar stones at the Ring of Brodgar in Avebury. Did the ancient people acknowledge this megalith to enter the sacred Kalanish circle? Mrs. Curtis, a well-known Kalanish researcher, found the top of this stone in a wall. It's now back in its original position. The top came dislocated between 1860 and 1885. The megalith on the right, stone number 8, is offset to the avenue. This standing stone directs your eye and seems to point towards the Sleeping Beauty hill range, far away in the distance. At this skewed stone, did they acknowledge the Sleeping Beauty from this megalith before walking up the ceremonial avenue? The modern car park and fence is very close to these two stones. The Sleeping Beauty. During astronomical research by Mr. and Mrs. Curtis, two well-known Callanish researchers, it was found at important times of the moon's cycle, the lunar body rises from a series of hills in the southeast horizon, known as Sleeping Beauty. In Gaelic, this translates as Cairn Montauk, meaning the old woman of the moors. These hills resemble a recumbent female figure. No doubt there's a link with the lunar cycle, Sleeping Beauty, and the standing stones. A few other examples of recumbent landscape figures visible from stone circles are Machrie Moor on the Isle of Arran and Tom Navery in Aberdeenshire. Did the ancients see this as a real giant which had been somehow preserved in stone? From the location of Achmore Stone Circle, which is also known as Kalanish 22, Sleeping Beauty appears pregnant. This zoomed in footage shows the Sleeping Beauty in the far distance from the skewed stone at the bottom of the avenue. You can make out a head to the right, then the body, knees and legs. Visibility is weather permitting. In recent times, September 2006 and June 1987, witnesses standing in the avenue would have observed the major lunar standstill. This is the moon's extreme southern rise. The lunar body rose out of the Sleeping Beauty, floated low over the horizon, then descended and briefly reappeared in the ring. The next major standstill will also happen in 2025. The halfway point in the 18.6 year lunar cycle is the minor standstill. Walking the gentle hill of the avenue towards the main circle does give the sense of a processional ceremonial way that the ancient ancestors would have walked. The main Kalanish site is situated off the northwest coast of Scotland on the Isle of Lewis. The stones are 12 miles west of Stornoway, which is the main town on the island, and just off the A858 road. The site is well signposted and in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. Who knows what might be beneath the ground or underwater waiting to be discovered in the coming decades? Who knows what we might learn about Callanish in the coming centuries? Kalanish will still hold fascination for future generations. Kalanish II stone circle. Kalanish II is the closest stone circle to the well-known and main Kalanish site. Kalanish II's Gaelic name translates as hillock at the end of a wall. In this film, we'll look at Kalanish II's unusual non-circular shape, some excavation finds, and the circle's connection with an important and prominent distant landscape feature. Kalanish II is just one of the so-called minor or satellite stone circles in the well-known Kalanish complex. The ring measures roughly 22 metres by 19 metres, and 5 slender standing stones of beautiful crystalline Lewisian gneiss still survive at Kalanish II. The stones vary in height from 2 metres to 3.3 metres tall. Kalanish II is half a mile to the southeast from the main Kalanish site. Notice the shape of the stones and the ones resembling human figures. This is also noticeable at the main Kalanish site and other stone circles and standing stones throughout the UK, and was no doubt intentional by the ancient architects. It was reported the circle was causewayed, meaning the interior was cobbled or paved. An old photograph of Kalanish II shows a lot of cairn material inside the circle. The west arc has no standing stones, however 3 lie recumbent. 2 of these stones are visible, the other is below ground. A possible outlier stone may have existed 20 metres to the northwest. Another feature is an internal cairn of small stones, which is still visible. The cairn is 8.5 metres in diameter, and the position of this cairn varies in antiquarian drawings. Professor Alexander Thom, the Scottish archaeoastronomer and founder of the Megalithic Yard, measured Kalanish II and found that the Neolithic people erected not a true circle, but an ellipse of standing stones. The nearby Kalanish IV site is also an ellipse arrangement, which is shaped like a rugby ball. In 1858, 1 metre of peat was removed, and a few features now lost were revealed. Before this peat clearance, only 5 stones could be seen. Peat removal took place at other significant prehistoric areas in Scotland, such as Kilmartin Glen and Argyll and Bute. 5 pits were uncovered, and in these holes were small seashore pebbles and wood charcoal. These pits may have been post holes for a timber structure. A key component in the Kalanish complex is a distant natural landscape feature known as Sleeping Beauty. This takes on the profile of a sleeping recumbent woman lying on her back. The ancient people would have deliberately placed Kalanish II so that the old woman of the moors would be clearly visible from the ring, weather permitting. A few miles away at Achmore Stone Circle, which is also known as Callanish XXII, Sleeping Beauty appears pregnant. Possible recumbent landscape figures appear from other megalithic sites around Scotland. Kalanish II is the nearest stone circle to the very popular and main Kalanish site, which is half a mile away to the northwest. This footage shows the iconic standing stones of the main Kalanish site on top of the distant hill from one of the fallen Kalanish II stones. This zoomed in footage shows Kalanish II, which can be seen sticking up in the distance from the main Kalanish site. The very impressive Kalanish III stone circle is a short 275 metre walk from Kalanish II and just visible peeking over the hill. This is a zoomed in image of Kalanish III from inside Kalanish II. The internal 4-stone arrangement at Kalanish III circle is also an ellipse shape, just like Kalanish II. Kalanish II stone circle can be found near Kalanish village. The circle is signposted from the A858 road. There's public access and the site is in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. When visiting the site, noticing the gate, the design of the sun and moon and the ancient people erecting the stones. Kalanish III stone circle. A short walk from Kalanish II is the most impressive stone circle out with the main Kalanish site. Kalanish III is a very important piece in the mysterious Callanish prehistoric complex. The Gaelic name for Kalanish III is pronounced Nok Villiva Veg, which translates as Little Villiva Hillock. We'll find out about similarities with Kalanish III and the prehistoric complex on the Isle of Arran. A well-known pop band shot a video here. We'll find out about the circle's peculiar shape and the mysterious arrangement of stones inside the circle. The iconic main Kalanish site is well known, however there are more beautiful stone circles in the complex which don't get as many visitors, possibly due to lack of awareness and therefore get overlooked. These outlier rings are usually referred to as satellite stone circles or the minor sites. The most impressive of these satellite stone circles is Kalanish III, which is situated 1 mile southeast of the main Kalanish site. When walking the short distance between Kalanish III and II, perhaps this was the same processional walk our ancient ancestors took circa 5 millennia ago. Kalanish III is probably more of interest to people interested in earth mysteries and dowsing etc. Kalanish III is the most interesting and visited site in the so-called minor or satellite stone circles in the Callanish prehistoric arena. The ancient architects constructed an outer and inner setting made up of gorgeous Lewisian gneiss standing stones. In the present day, circa 5 millennia after the circle was constructed, Kalanish III still has 12 standing stones with 8 prominent uprights in the outer circle, with several more fallen. More stones could be below ground and waiting to be rediscovered in the future. 13 standing stones were visible just above the surface before the 1858 peat clearance, when 1 metre of peat was stripped away and more stones came to light. Peat clearance happened at the other Callanish sites. The ring's outer diameter is around 16 metres by 15 metres, with the stones varying in height from 1 metre to 1.8 metres high. Scottish archaeoastronomer Professor Alexander Thom visited and measured Kalanish III. He found a shape which he calls a type A flattened circle. The ring is flattened on the east arc. This is the same layout design as the circle at the main Kalanish site. The outer circular setting contains an inner arrangement of 4 standing stones. These may represent the triple goddess, which are symbolic of the 3 stages of a woman's life: maiden, mother and the crone or hag, with the 4th stone being the male phallus. The triangular stone may be the maiden, which symbolises the young girl. The middle megalith, the mother, and notice how this stone has a reddish colour, perhaps this was intentional. And the 3rd upright being the hag or crone, representing the wise old woman. The 4th stone, which sits slightly away from the 3 feminine stones, no doubt has a male phallic shape, It's highly likely this is a masculine megalith, and look out for the quartz deposits on the stone. These stones vary in height from 1.4 metres to 2.1 metres high. Perhaps the inner and outer settings are from different timelines. Another observation regarding these inner four stones is a similarity to the four standing stones at Machrie on the Isle of Arran, which is another fantastic prehistoric ceremonial complex. Notice how some of these standing stones resemble human figures. In this footage, Kalanish II is just visible in the background. Professor Tom, who discovered the megalithic yard, measured this inner four stone setting and found an ellipse shape which is shaped like a rugby ball. The close by and just visible Kalanish II circle also has this same shape. A very important observation and key part of the Kalanish complex, which was no doubt special to the ancient people, is a far off distant landscape feature known as Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is a modern name given to this feminine shaped hill range. Its Gaelic name, Caachna Montauk, translates as the Old Woman of the Moors. As you can see in this zoomed in footage from Kalanish III, it shows the profile of a female lying on her back. A prominent nose can be seen at the right hand side, then to the left, the torso, legs and knees. From the Machrie prehistoric complex on the Isle of Arran is another recumbent landscape figure. Perhaps this was important to the ancient people at these locations and where they were placing their stone circles. Pop band Ultravox, who are fronted by Scottish singer Midge Ure, filmed a promotional video for their single One Small Day at Kalanish III back in 1984. Check out their video on YouTube. Kalanish III stone circle can be found in the Outer Hebrides on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. The circle is 12.5 miles west of the main town, Stornoway, and very near Kalanish village. The site is in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. The circle is signposted from the A858 road with public access and an information board. A pair of wellies is recommended when visiting the Kalanish sites during any month of the year. Kalanish IV stone circle. Many standing stone sites dot the beautiful landscape around Kalanish village on the west side of the Isle of Lewis. Kalanish IV stone circle is not as frequently visited as the main Kalanish site. It's one of the lesser known satellite or minor sites as they're commonly known. At Kalanish IV stone circle, 5 lichen covered megaliths stand silently still from circa 5 millennia ago. The ancient architects deliberately laid out Kalanish IV as an ellipse ring which measures roughly 13 metres by 9.5 metres in length. This ellipse shape was also incorporated into Kalanish II stone circle and the inside arrangement of standing stones at the Kalanish III ring. Both of these sites are close by. A gap in the west arc suggests a missing stone. It's likely there were more standing stones making up a more complete ring when the site was originally constructed. Perhaps they're underground, waiting to be discovered in the future. The megaliths are made of beautiful Lewis gneiss. The standing stones are around 2 tons in weight and between 2 metres and 2.7 metres high. The broad face of the stones face into the circle's interior. Interestingly, 3 of the standing stones have pointed tops, while the other 2 in the east section have flat tops. This was probably intentional by the architects. The Gaelic name for Kalanish IV is Hiearn Hulavig, which translates as Head of Hula Bay. From Kalanish IV, the main Kalanish site is just visible in the distance, about 1.5 miles away to the northwest. It's unknown if Kalanish IV is contemporary with the main Kalanish site. A key component from the main Kalanish site and the other satellite stone circles is the Sleeping Beauty Hill range, which is seen from the other rings but not visible from here at Kalanish IV, which is unusual. The Neolithic people must have had a reason for this. Inside the circle is a round cairn of small boulders and a mini slab set in edge. This is 3.7 metres in diameter. The circle's very wet and boggy sunken interior is due to peat clearance from the 1850s. A pair of wellies is highly recommended during any month of the year. Peat clearance also took place at the other Kalanish sites and Comartin Glen in Argyll and Bute, which is another very important prehistoric complex in Scotland and very worth a visit. Kalanish IV is in the Garnahein area near Kalanish village and 12 miles west of Stornoway, which is the main town on the Isle of Lewis. Public access is granted and a short 200 metre walk from the B8011 road will take you to the circle. There's a small car park at the side of the road near the gate. When I visited Kalanish IV in September 2024, the wooden walkway leading up to the gate was very broken and damaged and quite dangerous. Kalanish IV does not have a signpost or an information board, but the site is marked on the OS maps. Kalanish V stone row is visible in the distance when walking back down the hill from the circle. Kalanish VIII stone circle. Kalanish VIII is an arrangement of standing stones on the south of the beautiful Hebridean island of Great Bernera. This is probably the most unusual site in the whole of this enigmatic Neolithic landscape complex. We'll find out about an ancient causeway linking the two islands. We'll take a look at the site's unusual arrangement of stones and a possible recumbent landscape figure in the distance. People from all over the world come to the remote Isle of Lewis off the northwest coast of Scotland to visit the romantic Kalanish stones, which were erected and have survived from circa 5 millennia ago. At Kalanish VIII we have a very rare arrangement of a half-stone circle. The megaliths are located at the edge of a cliff with no evidence of landslide collapse. The semicircular design was likely the original intention by the ancient architects. The area surrounding Kalanish VIII has rock art, burial cairns and other standing stones. Kalanish VIII has 3 megaliths, with the tallest being 3 metres. The semicircle has a diameter of 20 metres. The standing stones overlook Bernera Bridge, which was erected in the 1950s. Before this, there was a small ferry. Notice how the standing stones resemble the profile of human figures. This was also the case at the other Kalanish circles and at other sites in the UK. This was no doubt intentional by the builders. In the centre of the site is what looks like some kind of megalithic seat. Another example of a half-stone circle in Scotland is the Girdlestains. near Estelmuir in Dumfries and Galloway, and just like Kalanish VIII, the stones are directly next to a river. Alexander Thom, the Scottish archaeoastronomer, and Boyle T. Somerville linked Kalanish VIII with cairns and boulders that could be seen on the hilltop horizon. The broad face of the megaliths looks south to the stretch of water which separates the two islands of Great Bernera and the Isle of Lewis. Notice the possible recumbent landscape figure at the top of the distant hill. This may be a key factor in where these standing stones were placed. This is not the Sleeping Beauty figure which is seen from the main Kalanish site or the Kalanish II and III circles. Let me know in the comments what you think of this possible recumbent landscape figure. The standing stones are made up of beautiful Lewisian gneiss, which is the oldest stone in Great Britain. The Gaelic name for Kalanish VIII is Klitscher, which is a take on a Viking word that means rocky hillside. In the 1970s and 1980s AD, the site was unsettled a few times, which was due to a fence being erected. A water main went through the site with the bedrock being blasted and poles were erected for electricity. Kalanish VIII does feel as if it's been modified. Across the river, Kalanish VIII can be seen. This once fallen stone was re-erected by Mr. and Mrs. Curtis, who are two well-known Callanish researchers. The bridge over the Atlantic Ocean takes you to the beautiful Hebridean island of Great Bernera. It was decided in 1951 that a bridge was to be built linking the Isle of Lewis mainland to the island of Great Bernera. The bridge was opened in 1953. An Iron Age house and village can be found on Bosta Beach on the north of the island. In 2020, a survey of the old bridge was found to be no longer suitable for heavy vehicles. A new bridge was completed in December 2021. At very low tides, an ancient causeway of unknown origin can still be seen. This discovery shows continuity at this location as a crossing point. The Kalanish VIII standing stones are located a few miles west of the main Kalanish site at the head of the B8059 road, just over the Bernera Bridge on the south shore of Great Bernera. The stones are marked on the Ordnance Survey maps. When driving over the bridge, the stones can be seen to your left. The site is not signposted, nor is there an information board. Public access is granted, with steps leading up to the gate. There's a car park and a picnic table very close to the site. Achmore Stone Circle, also known as Callanish XXII. Achmore is one of the remotest stone circles in the UK. The 5,000-year-old ring is rarely visited, but is a very important site in the Kalanish Stones complex. In this film, we'll look at what remains of Achmore and its relationship with the recumbent landscape figure known as Sleeping Beauty. Achmore Stone Circle is very ruinous. It's also known as Kalanish XXII and one of the lesser known sites in the Kalanish complex. It's off the beaten tourist track and you'll more than likely get the circle to yourself. Outside the ring, I noticed a small circular arrangement of shells and stones which had been deliberately left, probably as some kind of offering to the site. Most of the ancient stones in the Callanish complex are near the coast. Achmore Circle is situated to the east of the other main Callanish stones. It's also an inland site which is rare on the Isle of Lewis. While walking around the site, you will come across many of the fallen stones. The site probably dates to the Neolithic age, but it's unknown if Achmore is contemporary with the other Callanish sites. Originally, Achmore would have been an impressive stone circle and an important component in the Kalanish arena. Perhaps it was part of a ceremonial processional route that the ancient people took while going from circle to circle. The huge ring is 41 metres in diameter, and through peat cutting and excavation, the circle was discovered in 1981 by the well-known Callanish researcher Margaret Curtis. Only one prominent stone is now upright. There was probably around 22 standing stones when the circle was erected. Gaps in the ring suggest 3 missing stones, and each stone may have been around 2 metres high. Achmore is a true circle, which is interesting as the better known Kalanish I, II, III and IV rings are ellipses or flattened circles. Kalanish V is a stone row and Kalanish VIII is a semicircle. A peat bank now bisects the site from the north to southwest arc. More stones may be lying dormant under the peat waiting to be found. Hopefully more Kalanish sites will be uncovered and further pieces of the Kalanish puzzle will come to light. Fertility was likely an important component in the ritual activity of our Neolithic ancestors. These stones link a special landscape feature with lunar rhythms. To the southwest from the circle is a range of hills which resembles a pregnant recumbent female. This landscape feature is called Sleeping Beauty or the Earth Mother. In Gaelic it translates as Cairn Montac, meaning the old woman of the moors. Recumbent landscape figures can be seen from other stone circles in Scotland. Another example is from the Aberdeenshire recumbent stone circle Tom Navery. This footage of Sleeping Beauty is zoomed in. From inside the Achmore circle, Sleeping Beauty appears pregnant. The ancient people likely placed the circle precisely at this location, perhaps as an acknowledgement to the beginnings of the human life cycle. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Achmore village is situated halfway between Stornoway, which is the main town on the Isle of Lewis, and the main Callanish site. The circle is signposted from the A858 road. A short uphill walk takes you to a bench and an information board just outside the circle. Any keen megalithomaniac, dowser, earth mysteries enthusiast or historian will be glad to have visited and explored Achmore Stone Circle or Kalanish 22. Before Caledonia is a prehistory project which focuses on stone circles, standing stones and rock art from Scotland's Neolithic and Bronze Age eras. Before Caledonia is also a Facebook group. You can support the project by becoming a Patreon and receive exclusive physical and digital content. There's also a PayPal donation option. All links can be found in the description box below. I hope you, the viewer, has enjoyed this film on the main Kalanish site and may be inspired to visit this magical location. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreons, and a megalithic thanks to the ancient architects who constructed Kalanish.